What up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Moedotj, and we are locked in. This is Hip Hop Uncovered Part 5, and we know how influential these five have been in the hip hop game, the rap game, and we seen how they came up, how they got their power. But Part 5, we're gonna see how they burst into the hip hop scene and took it to another level. But before we get into all that, shout out to the notification gang. If you're new to the channel and want to be a part of this, hit your subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you get something every time I upload. Oh yeah, hit that like button. Engagement 2021. Hey, we growing slowly, but we growing now. So this week we get to see how they took whatever artists they connected to and took them to the next level. How they actually got into the hip hop scene and made things happen for them. So you know me, I'm not gonna hold you up. This is Hip Hop Uncovered Part 5. Let's get into it. Hip hop was once the baby. It's not what it didn't start off to what it is today. Let's just be honest about that. But now hip hop has put its influence and it's rolled over into everything. You got Kendrick Lamar, the Pulitzer Prize. Every movie has something to do with a hip hop basis. All music genres, they're stemming from hip hop now. Hip hop has grown to a level that is unprecedented. No one would ever think that rappers would take it this far. You know, Biggie said it. No one ever thought rap would take it this far. But that's where we are today. But it didn't always start off like that. We know hip hop stems from the streets, but now the streets is in hip hop. And one thing Bimmy says is, if you're going to do rap, stay away from the street stuff. If you're going to do street stuff, stay in the streets, which leads us to 50 Cent. 50 Cent is the one that started all this, take it to another level, get in your face, diss whoever, and shows you that I do this on the streets, I'm going to do it in hip hop. And we know how 50 Cent was. All that bubblegum popcorn stuff, that Ja Rule stuff, 50 wasn't with that because 50 was really in the streets. And he made the streets and hip hop believe what he was rapping was the truth. All his songs put you in the streets, okay? Yeah, 50 Cent was that man. 50 Cent said the reason the young people love him is because all these young people, you see it all the time, Chicago, LA, Atlanta, Florida, everybody was listening to 50 Cent because these young dudes, that's the life that they were in. So they believed everything that 50 was rapping about. And 50 knew that. So for him, he's like, man, I'm going to keep living the same life that I lived on the streets, but in the rap game, and I'm going to make some money off of it. So everyone that came before me, yeah, I took some stuff from here, some inspiration from them, but I took it and made it bigger. I made more money off of it. So at the end of the day, I'm a better version of them. I just made the game and made money off of it. 50 was really making noise in the street and people messed with him. His first song was How to Rob, one of his biggest songs. And that was 50 Cent taking jabs at people like, hey, I'm not going to be scared of anybody. If I got to rob somebody, I'm going to rob somebody. He went at Jay-Z. He went at every single rapper. It didn't matter. 50 Cent was showing, hey, I'm here. I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with. So you're going to have to deal with it or move up out the way. Now, the incident between 50 Cent and Ja Rule, what came up between them is 50 was really in the streets. Ja Rule wasn't. But Ja Rule was, affiliated with people that was in the streets, people that had problems with 50 or 50 may have had a problem with them. So one day at the studio, Ja's coming over, he's, oh man, this Ja Rule. And Ja swear he got problems with 50. So Bimmy's in the bottom floor, 50's upstairs. Now Prize from Refugees, he was like, hey, you got a problem with 50? Well, go upstairs and handle that since you all talk. They go up there, they turn off the lights, they in there, they got knives from the kitchen, they go upstairs, 50 kind of gets hit in the chest, but he shrugs it off. You know what I'm saying? So now 50's like, okay, these dudes is after me, and that's where 50 got stabbed up at, and this is where the beef between him and Murder Inc. really kicked off, because Ja got into something he didn't need to be into. Then a little bit after the stabbing, 50 got shot 9 times, and then that's when Get Rich or Die Trying and everything came out. And now Ja Rule put himself into the streets and eventually got himself destroyed because 50 was not going to back down. He got that song, Back Down. But, hey, 50 was he was the man. And Bimmy told him, it's either after you got done getting shot, it's either you go be in the streets and do that or stick to your music and get out of the streets, make this money and run with it. And we know what 50 did. And 50's big as hell now. Now let's move to Deb and how she got started. So we know she was in New York. We know she was in the streets. We know she got shot. She's making moves. The father of her children died. She had a lot of deaths. So she moved down to Atlanta. She had to get started. Now, the thing is, she didn't have any real solid connections at the time. She knew people. Don't get me wrong. She knew people, but she's really getting into the music industry now. One of Deb's first artists when she got to Atlanta was Big Gucci Mane. You can't kiss me, baby. You could kiss my chain. But she gotta be a dime piece. Now, Gucci Mane, he was in and out of jail. He going to jail for assault. Gucci is being Big Gucci. You know what I'm saying? This is before ice cream Gucci. This is Gucci was wilding out Gucci. And he's down there. Deb has him as an artist, but no label is going to mess with him because he's in and out. And what they're saying is he's a liability. We don't want to mess with Gucci Mane because he's in and out of jail. We're going to be losing money. We're going to have to pay for lawyers and stuff. So, of course, none of the big labels were going to have to they weren't going to mess with Gucci Mane. So Deb had to go outside of the box, use some of her connections and find somebody that would put their money up. This leaves Deb to do what she got to do. Go make some connections and make something happen. So she goes to Jimmy Henchman. Now, everyone knows Jimmy Henchman. He making that money. You know, he got his own little record label. And Deb, she's vouched. You know what I'm saying? She's solidified in the street. So she goes to him. It's like, hey, I got Gucci Mane, but ain't nobody messing with him. So this is how Gucci Mane and Deb, they get signed to Jimmy Henchman. And then this is where Gucci Mane starts to pop off. Gucci Mane had a name for himself. He was making noise in Atlanta. Let's not get that messed up. But Gucci Mane was doing his thing. But now he's with Deb. He's with Jimmy Henchman. He got a label behind him. He got Deb. She know the streets. White Tee came out from them franchise boys. But there was a song called Black Tee. It's got Gucci Mane on it. And that was really making some noise. He just took their song and ran with it. It was actually big in them streets. So now Gucci Mane, hey, they like, this dude's a problem for real. He's making some noise with his music. And the thing about Deb is she was so connected. So when they would go on the road, she took the streets with her. Go out to Houston. Oh, she might know this person. She might know this person. Go up to Chicago. So Deb knew the streets. And what she did was take the hip hop act, Gucci Mane, and put him with the streets. We would only go to do shows where it's hood at, because that would make the image and everything solidify. Like, oh, they really in these streets. But they had those connections, so it wasn't like they were just out there faking it. They were really doing it. Let's head on out to LA. We get to see Big U's story. Now, Big U was on the yard with one of the homies from Hoover, and he asked Big U a legit question. Hey, when you get out, are you gonna take your neighborhood and your community to the next level? Or are you gonna get caught up with all the brotherhood and be back in the streets? So for Big U, doing 13 years, it was a no-brainer. Like, I'm going to the next level. I'm not trying to end up back in here. He doesn't want to get tied back up in the streets. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not going to leave the streets alone and just be like, hey, I'm done, wash my hands with it. He's still going to use all of the resources in his name of Big U and use what he has to work for him and help the community go to the next level. Big U's on his way home, and you know Corrupt's his little homie, so it's only right that Corrupt took him to death row and introduced him to Suge. Now, Suge's a blood, Big U's a Crip, but it wasn't no problems. Corrupt told Suge, hey, I trust Big U. Corrupt trusted Suge, Big U trusted Corrupt. So it was just a partnership, and they said once these two got together, they just clicked just like that, and it was, you know, they both doing the same thing. And Suge would take Big U along with him, show him, hey, these are the contracts. This is what you want to do when you go in these business meetings. Basically teaching him the business of music, because Big U, outside of gangbanging, he wasn't really into the music like that as far as being an executive. But Suge and Big U, they became real close. And that's how Big U learned the game. Hey, we headed up to the D, and I ain't talking Denver. We up in Detroit. Trick, it's time for him to get out. And when he gets out, a couple of members from D12 come and pick him up. So he's looking like, damn, times didn't change. I remember these young boys, they ain't really have much. So Big Trick is like, Trick's looking at it like, damn, all right, we gotta make something happen now. Let's get it going. Now things are starting to roll. We remember Proof told him, hey, Trick got locked up. We got to go get him up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Put some money on his bail. So they do that. But once he gets released, Trick goes over to Eminem's studio, and M's playing him some music. And he's listening to it like, oh, man, the biggest phenomenon, Eminem is rapping about me. I just beat a murder case. You know what I'm saying? This is Welcome to Detroit. And he's listening to it, and he said the second verse comes on, and there's nothing there. It's just music. And he said this is where Eminem said, hey, this is where you get on the track and do your thing, Trick. So Eminem put Trick on the biggest level that he's ever been on. Actually, the biggest level anyone's been on. We all know how Eminem was in the 2000s. If you was on the song with Eminem, oh my goodness, you are out of here. I never really looked at it this way until Trick broke it down. Now, once Obama made it, of course it was good for black people, but this is monumental for hip hop. The way he broke it down is all those white kids that listen to hip hop, all of the black kids that listen to hip hop, even the kids that weren't street, they all grew up listening to hip hop. And now they came out in numbers and they voted for the first black president. So all of those people that may come from different backgrounds and cultures that listen to hip hop, they all migrated over and they helped support Barack Obama getting elected. Hip hop has played a large role that we actually overlook and people don't even give it its credit for. But that's the truth. All those kids growing up listening to hip hop, they voted for this man, Barack Obama. They also voted for Joe Biden this year. Well, last year. Deb got success with Gucci Mane. Now she comes in contact with a young rapper from New York, Nicki Minaj. And one thing about Deb, she's about women empowerment. Now, if y'all watch my reviews and recaps for growing up hip hop, you'll see that she's always trying to work with female artists. But let's get back to this. Now, she sees Nicki Minaj. She's like, oh, my goodness, this girl is animated and she can rap, but no one's giving her the credit that she needs. So she tells Nicki Minaj, like, hey, I can work with you. Come on down to Atlanta. You got to move down here so I can really work with you and I can get you in the door. Now Nicki's down here. We got Nicki on the label. We got Gucci Mane. Deb is just, you know what I'm saying? She got everybody up under her roof. They're all at the studio. They just living there working. And what they did to take Nicki Minaj to the next level is they paired her with Gucci Mane, not as far as like a group, but they used that same street mentality they did with Gucci Mane, and they put it on Nicki Minaj. So some of Gucci Mane's rep rubbed off on Nicki, and now people saying, damn, Nicki's over there with them. Okay, she got a lot of credibility because we know what they about. And if Nicki out here rapping that, okay, and she with them, yeah, she's good to go. Deb started making a name for herself. If you didn't hear about Auntie Deb back in them 2000s, then you wasn't really listening to nothing. Like, let's be real. I moved down to Atlanta in 2009. And when I was down there, I was hearing all about her. Me and my brother used to do some raps, and we did actually do a performance for her at Lucky Lounge. We didn't win that. I ain't gonna lie to you, but hey, it is what it is. But Deb was really she was making noise. She was everywhere you look, Deb. You got Gucci Mane, you got Waka Flocka, you got Nicki Minaj, you got French Montana. All of this because of Deb. Back up in Detroit, it's unfortunate that Proof, Eminem's right-hand man, ended up getting killed over some dumb stuff. Proof, if you watch 8 Mile, Mekhi Phifer pretty much played Proof. Proof knew everybody. He was hosting things. He had after-hour spots. So he was the connection between Trick. Trick and Proof were like brothers. Proof and Eminem were right-hand man, but it's unfortunate that he got killed trying to break up a fight at an after-hour spot, and for Trick and Eminem, it was a huge loss for both of them. Dr. Dre breaks down what's going on in hip hop, and we still see it today. Most of these kids that get into hip hop, they don't have someone in their ear telling them, hey, don't do that. Do this. You know what I'm saying? Stay away from this because it's going to get you in trouble, dead or in jail. Dr. Dre, he didn't have that either, but he made right decisions and he made wrong decisions, but overall he made the right decisions that he could overcome it. But for a lot of these people, they don't get that opportunity just because of where they're growing up at and the environment that they're in. So Dr. Dre is just saying we need more mentors for a lot of these young men that are coming up because they're just jumping in this thing and they're reckless with it. Let's head back out to LA. There's a young rapper coming up, Mr. Nipsey Hussle, R.I.P. But at this point, Nipsey, no one's really heard of him. He has some music out, but it's just local. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't really bubbled yet, but he's making some noise. He's staying on top of it. He's rapping that street life because that's what he was, a Rolling 60s Crip. But he's putting it in his rhymes and he's letting people know this is what I am and this is what I believe in. But Nipsey wasn't just a reckless rapper. He was out there doing things. He was just, like Dr. Dre said, he didn't have anyone in his ear at the moment to put him on the right track. He was just rapping at this point. There was a lot of music being made around the neighborhoods, but wasn't nothing really doing anything. And what Big U brought to the table, he had all the connections. You see him in the back right here on the phone making calls because he knew Corrupt, he knew Death Row, he knew Snoop, he knew all these people, and he was looking for an artist. And at this time, it only made sense. Nipsey Hussle's on the come up, but no one's really heard about her. So you have to get management or something that's going to be able to push you, and that's what Big U did. He took Nipsey Hussle and he started to market him. We got to put him in here. We got to do this. We got to do something, but we got to get this music heard. Big U can only do so much because the name Big U, they know a gang member. They just thinking, oh, he's not going to do anything productive for us. We don't really want to waste our time on Big U, the notorious gang member. And then we have a young Nipsey Hussle who's a gang member. No, we don't want that. So Big U used his connections, and then we have Steve Lobel. So what he did was he worked with Steve because Steve was the white guy and he was Jewish. So he could get into places that Big U couldn't get him in. He could get meetings that Big U wasn't afforded or allowed just because he was white and he was Jewish and he wasn't connected with the streets. So this turned into the big three pretty much. You got Big U, Steve, and of course Nipsey Hussle leading it with all the music. They show an interview of Nipsey Hussle and he's explaining how the news media is blaming all of this violence and stuff on the young black men that are gangbanging, but it's not us. We're not the ones causing the violence. We were born into this because of how you guys deprived our communities. This is the only life that we have because you guys put us in this situation. We know they burned down Black Wall Street in Tulsa. We know up in Harlem they were arresting almost every black person because they making money and they actually doing stuff for themselves and they're self-sufficient. So we didn't make this environment for ourselves. You guys, the people, the government, y'all put us in these situations for us to have to live with our back against the wall every day and fighting for everything that we got. And now that's what we see today as it's every man for himself amongst our blacks in our communities. Now we bring in Waka, Flocka, Flame. Now Waka, we know he wasn't a rapper. He was Deb's son. He's rolling with Gucci Mane. So you always see him in the back and stuff, but he wasn't rapping. Now for him, he said he heard Nipsey Hussle and he like, okay, this dude's rapping real. Let me do the same, but let me go in and make my own sound. So what does he do? He comes up with, oh, let's do it. This is his first song he recorded. And he brought it to his mom, Deb, and she heard it and said, oh my goodness, let's take that same plan that we had with Gucci Mane with the streets and do it for Waka Flocka. And this is how Waka blew up. And that's what Waka said, man. Once he gets on the stage and starts rapping about the real stuff, it's going to put all that other stuff to shame and everyone's going to believe and listen to his music because, hey, I'm only performing at the hood clubs. If it ain't a hood club, then I ain't going to it because the people got to believe the stuff that I'm rapping is really what I'm going through. And we know Waka was really in them streets doing what he do. Then in the mid 2000s, we seen, the war in Chirac, that started to pop off and became crazy. Which leads us to the artist of These Bitches Love Sosa. Chief Keef really took that drill music and the street stuff to another level. And social media just took that to another level also. Once you seen Chief Keef blow up, then you start seeing all kinds of other rappers just, guns, posting stuff up, disrespecting other people. But Chief Keef, he started up in Chicago. He was the leader of that drill movement. Now all these kids are internet thugs. You can get behind a computer desk, your phone, and you can just type whatever you want because, 9 times out of 10, ain't no one ever going to run into you. Deb said it best. She was raised by OGs. These kids are raised by IG. It's just a different time. And it really not working out for a lot of these people because you're living a life that you don't really live. So when it happens in real life, not on the internet, then that's where all the problems and consequences come from. Now we insert Bimmy into the manager role of a Waka Flocka because Waka doesn't want his mom out there. They going into clubs, they getting into it, and a mom's gonna always be protective. So Waka made the decision, hey Deb, I don't want you coming out here with me because it's gonna get dangerous on this road. So now Bimmy becomes his manager, but that's his uncle. So Bimmy says no paperwork, none of that. I'm gonna be looking out for you. That's my job. So Bimmy got 3 lawyers, went over to Warner Brothers, went in there and set things straight like, hey, you're not gonna be taking publishing from Waka Flocka no more because they were taking all his publishing. So Bimmy kind of knew the industry and he wasn't gonna go in there. He's gonna make sure his nephew and his family was good because we know these record labels are robbing all of these artists and Bimmy was not having it. Bimmy and Waka Flocka ended up having a falling out. Now, this still his nephew. He still loves and wants to protect his nephew, but Bimmy is from the streets. So loyalty is what you have. A handshake. If you say you're going to do something, this is what you're going to do. Waka Flocka ended up meeting a guy named Jimmy and was like, hey, let's bring him on the road with us, so he can learn how to be a manager and help out manage me. But for Bimmy, he's like, I don't know this dude. And when you're a street guy, you always think, I don't know this dude. I can't trust this guy. So for him, that's where him and Waka Flocka, they kind of separated ways, because Bimmy was like, I'm doing a good job with this. Why are you bringing in somebody I don't know? And after that, that's where their business relationship pretty much ended. Now, Big U, his influence, everybody knows him. He puts Nipsey Hussle on his first tour. He actually puts him on Game's LAX tour. Now, I heard about this. I never seen it live, but I mean, I was hearing about it because, me and Nip, we about the same age. He was, I think, a year older than me. But I'm hearing about it. I was definitely a Game fan. So he's on the road. And this is just putting Nipsey boom, 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 boom. He's raising his name up in the streets. In music, people, okay, he's on the road with Game, a platinum artist. And he came out of Compton, not Compton, but Crenshaw. Oh, yeah. Nipsey Hussle was making his way now. Now they're on the road. They have a mobile home that Big U got from somebody because they needed a way to get around. They take Nipsey out on the road with this. And then one day, the feds kick in Big U's house. They find some guns, a little bit of money and stuff. But the reason they do this is because that mobile home that they have, the guy that lent it to him been on the run for 12 years. So Big U didn't get any charges or anything from that, but he got tied up into a situation because he didn't know the guy that gave him this was on the run. So they thought this was Big U's mobile home because it was in his wife's name. So got tied up in some street stuff, but you got to take it as a lesson. And okay, now I got to move more professionally with the things that I'm getting. The disconnect between Deb and Nicki Minaj came from Nicki was blowing up in the streets. People hearing about Nicki Minaj. She with Young Money now. She connected to everybody. She done blown up. Gucci Mane big. So Deb, she's working. And it turns out Nicki Minaj had an overseas tour. Now, Deb didn't get her visas together. You got to have a work visa when you go into these other countries. Unless you've been overseas and done this before, you wouldn't know that. I lived in Germany for 4 years. So traveling to different countries, some countries they have, okay, you can have a passport, you can come and visit. But then there's some countries, like if you go over to Thailand, you have to have a visa and it's only for like 3 weeks. But in order to go over to these countries and make money, you have to have a work visa. And Deb didn't know about that. So it delayed the concert and the tour, and Nicki took this as a moment to say, well, I need somebody more professional that would know that. But this was Deb's first international tour, so she wouldn't have known that. But I mean, business is business. Now all these stories start coming out. Gucci Mane tries to say Deb is stealing from her. Nicki Minaj tries to say something that Deb is stealing from her. And then French Montana does it also. But Deb actually sues French Montana because he was lying about it. Deb never stole any money from Waka or Nicki Minaj, but French Montana lied about it. So French Montana was ordered to pay Deb $2 million in a lawsuit because he was lying about it. And there's other stuff going on, but I try not to bring any outside things into the show. I'm just going to tell you what's on the show. That's how I do all my shows. But let's not get anything twisted. Miss Deb was the vessel for all three of them to reach new heights. Gucci Mane, Nicki Minaj, French Montana. If it wasn't no Deb, these three may not have been as big as they were. I'm not saying they didn't have the talent, but Deb had the connections and the drive to push them and take them to another level. So we got to give Deb her flowers while she's here. We start to see the power that hip hop has. I said earlier, hip hop brought together everybody to vote for Barack Obama. Now, as we move forward, we had the Trayvon Martin murder. We had the George Floyd murder. All of these men were murdered. We have so many unarmed men murdered by the police. Hip hop's looking at it like, we got to come together and be able to do something, because the world we living in now is messed up. They're hunting us down and getting rid of us. And we see hip hop artists harassed all the time. A lot of black people are harassed by the cops, and hip hop, they had to take a stand for it. And we see it now, man. All these races on social media and things, it's just getting worse. Worse and worse and worse. We got to find a way to come up with something to stop it. Once again, Deb said, she's raised by OGs. These young people, they raised by IG, and it's not good. Social media is making things worse. There you go, Hip Hop Uncovered Part 5. Let me know what you think below. What do you think about Nicki Minaj, Gucci Mane, and French Montana and what they did with Deb? Because we know Deb got them started in the game. Like I said, not knocking their talent, but Deb had the connections to skyrocket them. Hey, I'm Moedotj. Thanks for watching. If you like the content on the channel, hit the subscribe button. Definitely give me a like. Be here for Hip Hop Uncovered Part 6, the final edition. I'm Moedotj. Thanks for watching. I'm out.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.